Today, we're going to learn all about the psychological benefits of orthodontic treatments. Stay tuned. Dr. Cruz, can you briefly explain what orthodontic treatment entails and who typically needs it?
Yeah, in its most kind of simple form, orthodontic treatment is simply moving teeth, one to improve the aesthetics or the look, but also to improve the function of your bite to make sure that the teeth are actually fitting together properly. Uh, it's such a good point. It's always a loaded question when people ask who needs it, right? And I sort of tease that orthodontic treatment is never a life and death situation. But what I will say is that a good majority of the population will definitely benefit from it. There are always things that you can do to improve the aesthetics and also really improve the bite.
How would you say it goes beyond just straightening teeth?
So there are some situations, specifically for our younger patients, where we also get to kind of manipulate the growth of the jaw. So if somebody has a really narrow upper arch, or they have something called a crossbite, you can actually also move the position of the upper jaw. In addition to moving the teeth. And then for some of our older patients, adult patients that have bites that are really dramatically off, so a really significant underbite or a really prominent overbite, will actually get help with the oral surgeon to do jaw surgery in conjunction with orthodontic treatment. Those treatments are amazing as far as kind of the before and after results and the impact that you can have on somebody's life, because you're going so much further beyond just straightening the teeth. You're also really changing kind of the function of their bite and also the overall appearance of their smile and of their profile.
So, in your opinion, what are the most common psychological issues a patient might have before starting treatment?
The two big psychological issues would be one, a lower self esteem in general as a result of not feeling comfortable showing their teeth or smiling or interacting, socially. And then the other one is kind of this concern about what it's going to be like to go through orthodontic treatment, right? Are people going to make fun of me? And am I going to be in pain? Is this process going to be something that I can tolerate? And so that can have a pretty heavy psychological impact. I'll see it at that new patient exam where I'll come in, I'll introduce myself, and you can usually spot it pretty early with those patients that have this concern about what it's going to be like.
So, how do you think orthodontic treatment can really affect self esteem and confidence specifically?
It's pretty amazing to watch. It's actually one of the things in my field that I don't get tired of, and there are a couple of ways that this can play out. One of them is that patients are aware of their lower self-esteem or just not wanting to show their teeth in general, and because they're aware of it, as we start to improve their smile, improve their bite, they're actually thrilled at their self-esteem going up and cognizant of it. They're mindful of it. The other way that it can go is that sometimes you'll have these youngsters that come in and they're sort of blissfully unaware, which is kind of adorable to me, to be honest. And so they don't realize that their underbite or their severe crowding could have a negative kind of social impact, which, to be honest, is probably the way it should be. And so as we go throughout treatment and we improve their smile and we improve their bite, there is this improvement in their self-esteem and confidence, but they're not really sure where it comes from. And for me, that's always endearing to be able to see that.
So it sounds like it differs between age. So what are some of the benefits, for children, teens, adults? How are they different? How are they the same?
It's a great point. I think that for our adult patients, like I said, they're so hyper aware, and in addition to that, for our adult patients, what you see is that living with their teeth not being in the right position for so many years and sometimes decades, I think they're unaware of how heavy that impact is. I mean, certainly they're aware of the fact that, yes, I don't like to smile, or sometimes we'll have a lot of patients that will put their hand over their mouth when they go to smile, or even sometimes when they're talking. So they are aware of it, but it's hard for them to sort of quantify exactly the heaviness that it has on their life. And so, believe it or not, we've had patients that at the end of treatment, we take the braces off. We'll actually always print before and after pictures. It's always really fun to be able to reveal that. And I'll be honest, I'm a pretty emotional guy. I'll cry at the drop of a hat. And so we've had some patients that'll actually start crying, and then I start crying, and before you know it, it's a it's a whole mess. And then as far as it pertains to our teenage patients and our younger patients, it's interesting. There's this trend that's going on, and it actually started, I'd say, about 6 months ago, where braces have become very cool again. And so I'll have, the way that I figured this out is that we'll have patients come in. It's the day that they're supposed to get their braces off, and I think they're going to come in, really excited, super motivated to get these braces off. And they don't want their braces off because it's actually kind of this badge of honor now, and it's cool, it's stylish, and so that has helped
The second time
tremendously.
I've heard a doctor say that this week. That's fascinating.
Right, yeah. And the first few times it happened, I thought, that's odd, that's just got to be a one-off, and it happened over and over and over again. And so it's odd to have to kind of convince patients, like, no, we really can't leave your braces on longer than they're supposed to be. um, but for me, it's helped dramatically because now we have so many patients that are just excited to have the braces on because it's kind of the cool thing to do. Granted, I don't expect this trend to last forever. Trends kind of come and go, but right now that's really helped because they're not so concerned about that psychological impact of having the braces on. They're actually motivated to get them on.
Talk about the relationship between orthodontic treatment and social interactions.
It changed. So to the point that we were just talking about, it changes over the years. And what I'll say too is that the advent of clear aligners and Invisalign has made a big impact, right? And so Invisalign specifically, which is what we use in our office, has really made great strides. There was a time where I felt like Invisalign wasn't quite up to par with regards to what braces could do. And so I was leery to really fully embrace it. That's not the case anymore. Invisalign is pretty darn amazing as far as what it can do and what it can treat. And so when you think about the psychological impact for those patients that come in and just say, hey, look, my smile, my bite, my teeth really bother me, but there is no way I'm going to let you put braces on. It's so nice to have an alternative now that makes it much more discreet and gives them an option so that they don't just leave saying, forget it, this isn't for me.
So for adults, how would you say improving someone's smile could affect professional opportunities or perceptions?
It's a really good question, and some of it sort of breaks my heart, to be honest with you. Unfortunately, the society that we live in, and specifically where I'm at in Southern California, we are in the bubble, and we are in kind of the epicenter of looks and appearance being critically important. And I'm sort of torn as to how I feel about that, right? I've sort of committed my career to improving patients' aesthetics, and it's super rewarding to be able to do that. I love it. It's very gratifying. And at the same time, there's some sort of commentary as to what does it say about the things that we value. But there's no doubt that it has a really positive impact in kind of what is available to adults, and it's not just professionally, right? So we've had, I can think of one patient in particular who not only did he have orthodontic treatment with us, but he had jaw surgery. He had a really prominent underbite, and up until that point, he had never had a girlfriend. And so by the time he went through the jaw surgery, he was wrapping up his college career. And, by the time he was done with treatment, he was getting ready to graduate. He had his first girlfriend. He was living life. And so it's really cool to know that, I'm not claiming that I'm the reason he has a girlfriend, but it's really cool to play a small part in that, to know that, you helped with their self-confidence, with their appearance, with their social attractiveness, and you kind of give them a leg up in the world.
Are there any negative psychological effects, particularly during treatment, that you've noticed?
Yeah, I know we were just talking about the trend that braces are cool again, but what I would say is that that hasn't always been the case, and so the big one was that having braces on was going to be a struggle. You didn't want people to see that you had braces on, and that there's, this association with it being uncomfortable, and that it's going to be long and lengthy. And so a lot of that is improved. I know we talked about Invisalign, and we've talked about treatment times really being able to drop, that the braces are much more comfortable than they used to be. And then, right now, the cherry on top is that this trend of braces being cool has certainly helped. But I would say that it's kind of this notion of delayed gratification, right? It's knowing that, okay, I understand that this process isn't exactly something that I'm really fired up and looking forward to, but what I am looking forward to is that end result, and knowing that it's going to be worth it in the end.
How do you address a patient's potential fears or anxieties about the treatment?
It's communication. Letting them really voice specifically what their concerns are, so that they know that they're being heard, and then being able to give them an answer that really puts them at ease. The other thing I really, really love to do, and now that I've got so many years under my belt in this career, is that I love showing before and after patients, or excuse me, before and after photos of patients that have really similar bites or smiles as to what that new patient has. And so, they can then envision, oh my gosh, that could be me. That is exactly what my teeth look like, or really similar to it, and look at that final result. And so, oftentimes you'll see the light bulb go on of, oh my gosh, this is real. I really can have a nice smile. I can really have a nice bite. Because I think that, coming into the office, oftentimes there's skepticism of, gosh, I don't know if I'm even a good candidate. I don't know if there's hope. And so seeing those before and after pictures, knowing that it's possible, goes a long way.
Dr. Cruz, is there any research you can cite to demonstrate the psychological benefits of orthodontic treatment?
There are a ton of studies that have been done. A lot of them have been published in the American Journal of Orthodontics, which is kind of the gold standard journal that all of us as orthodontists will look at every month. And then also the National Institute of Health has quite a few studies that have been published. And the theme is basically the same. There's a dramatic improvement in self-esteem and confidence. The other thing that is looked at is, their perception of social attractiveness, which has gone up across the board. And then, the other interesting aspect of it is dealing with adversity, and specifically social adversity. So putting yourself in an environment where you're going to meet people that you've never met for the first time, or you're going to a party or a social function, and you're a little bit nervous about it. So interestingly enough, there was research and studies done about that. And so the ability for people to deal with kind of these social struggles goes up quite a bit, which is kind of cool to think about.
How could family and friends help support someone undergoing orthodontic treatment to maybe enhance the psychological benefits?
I think the big one is to constantly kind of remind them as to why they're doing it, right? And also, as the teeth are moving and straightening out, to acknowledge it. So, oh my gosh, you're looking great. Everything's looking good. Or I can't wait to see what things look like when the braces come off, or when the Invisalign is done. That goes a long way, because, let's face it, oftentimes treatment can be a year or two. It's a commitment. And the key to getting a great result is being consistent with your brushing and with your flossing. And so for some of our younger patients, it can get tiring having to deal with that. They've got other things in life that are more important to them. And so what I would encourage a lot of our parents to do is just try and be that voice of positivity for them, and let them know how great they're looking and how great it's going to look in the end.
Are there any misconceptions you're aware of about the psychological benefits of the treatment?
I think that, a lot of people are still attached to these movies that we used to watch. I'm going to date myself, but, there's like 16 Candles is a good example, or, the cartoon Finding Nemo, or like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, where you'll see patients with massive braces on, or headgear, or these crazy contraptions, but that are always made to look wild and crazy on TV. And those days are gone. I don't have headgear in my office. I don't have it in my cabinets. And so I think that there's this misconception of how things are done to straighten teeth now. And man, things have come a long way to make it, more discreet and more comfortable.
How do you balance the physical and psychological aspects when you're creating a treatment plan for a patient?
Yeah, the physical aspects, I'm able to kind of explain to them why it's going to be more comfortable now, you know. And so we have wires now that are much more comfortable. It doesn't have that intense force to them. We have these really cool high tech gadgets. One of them is the Synapse pain eraser that you can rub on your gums to eliminate pain, so you don't have to be stuck taking, you know, Advil or Tylenol or any sort of, you know, drugs to reduce the pain. So we've got ways to really be able to address kind of what the discomfort is going to be and dramatically reduce that. And then more than anything, as far as the psychological impact, you know, I want to be a cheerleader in letting them know that this is going to be worth it. You're really going to appreciate it. What I find is once patients get a few months into treatment and they themselves start to see the improvement and the progress, then they're all in. You know, then they're sort of sold on the process. It's taking that initial leap of faith of, okay, I'm doing this. It's going to be worth it. You know, let's get started.
So if someone is thinking about starting orthodontic treatment, but they're hesitant because of psychological concerns, what would your advice be for them?
Yeah, and that comes back to having them specifically tell me exactly what their concerns are. I mean, the more specific, the better, because it's amazing how I can customize the treatment. And then that's a big part of what we do is, you know, we really listen to our patients. One, what it is that they want to achieve, and two, what it is that their concerns are. Because oftentimes, in hearing what that is, I can customize it and propose that to them and alleviate those concerns. And so, you know, examples of that would be braces versus clear aligners. Or, you know, another good example of that is oftentimes patients will come in and they might be missing a tooth. And what can we do to have a tooth that's visibly present while they're going through orthodontic treatment so that they don't have to have this awkward phase where, you know, they've got a big space that is prominent and noticeable. So, you know, being able to address those specific issues goes a long way.
Well, Dr. Cruz, thanks for all the great advice. We're looking forward to having you back.
Yeah, my pleasure. Take care.